What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today.
Not gonna lie, I didn't really have any expectations for the Golden State Warriors for the 2024-2025 NBA season that we're in right now, but I gotta say, I'm kind of raising an eyebrow at the Warriors. They might have something here. And I think a lot of that has to do with the addition of Buddy Hield. Not so much the subtraction of Klay Thomas. Yes, Klay wasn't prime Klay anymore. He wasn't a defensive player he used to be. He wasn't as consistent of a great shooter as he used to be, but he was still a good player for the Warriors. And they kind of, the NBA, the fans and the critics, they were a little bit over the top with their criticism of Klay. He wasn't that bad, especially considering his injury history of late. But Buddy Hield is balling for the Golden State Warriors and is just the offensive help Steph Curry needed. Buddy Hield is a big reason for the Warriors having the great start that they've jumped out to, only losing one game. Buddy is averaging almost 22 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, about a steal a game, logging almost 26 minutes, but he's shooting 51% from field goal range, and he's scorching from three-point land, shooting 50% with 85.7 free throw percentage and almost a 70% true shooting percentage. Buddy Hield is blistering, and he is lighting it up right now. Off the bench, he's not even starting. He's coming off the bench, shooting. And when Buddy came into the league, people were saying that he's like Steph Curry Jr. or the next Steph Curry in terms of his shooting ability. And yeah, he's looking like it. He's looking like the best shooter on the Golden State Warriors right now. Now, don't get me wrong. I would never say that Buddy Hield's a better shooter than Steph Curry. He doesn't draw the attention. Steph Curry does a lot. You got to take into context. But I'm just saying, that's how good of a shooter he is and how good he's shooting right now for the Golden State Warriors. And something that's not being said, obviously, you know how dynamic they can be when they're both on the floor at the same time with their spacing that they create because of their shooting ability. But what a lot of people aren't talking about is when Steph Curry is out. I'm not talking about sitting on the bench. I'm talking about when Steph Curry is sitting on the bench in civvies. If you don't know what civvies are, at least in the military, that's what we call civilian clothes. When he's sitting in civilian clothes on the bench because he's injured. Before, that used to be a big problem for the Golden State Warriors. When Steph Curry would get hurt, they were not a good team at all. They were struggling. But now, Steph Curry just went out. He missed a couple games with an ankle injury. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was an ankle injury. Buddy Hield, don't worry. I got you, Steph. We're going to keep winning these games. I'm going to keep shooting these teams into oblivion. And he did exactly that. Now, you don't have to worry about rushing Steph Curry back. Now, you can make sure Steph Curry can get the proper treatment and rehab he might need for his injuries because you got Buddy Hield. And he's a fine replacement for Steph Curry, especially for his shooting prowess. They got something here in Golden State. Because you can expect Steph Curry to have one or two significant injuries. I'm not talking about season ending, but something that could put him out 2-3 weeks. And you want to make sure you can at least stay afloat during that time. And Buddy Hield is going to assure that the Golden State Warriors stay afloat. Now, granted, I get it. There's other players on the team that are playing well and contributing in different ways. I get it. But make no mistake, Buddy Hield is that guy that's going to make sure they are still relevant in Steph Curry's absence. And that's something that they haven't had since Kevin Durant left the Warriors, if we're going to be honest. Somebody that can create offense. Somebody that can get the shots up. His own shots up at that. That's something they didn't have after KD left. So, the Warriors, I think, could really make some noise this season. And especially if they're all healthy. Buddy Hield and Steph Curry shooting lights out. You're going to have to deal with that. And they're not gonna fall in the standings should Steph Curry get injured. So that's gonna help the team tremendously when we're talking about home court advantage in the playoffs and seeding. So yeah, man, a lot of people ain't talking about it, but Buddy has been a difference maker. And I'm not making a 1-to-1 comparison to him and Klay because that's unfair, man. It is. Given the context of Klay Thompson, what he's been through, the Achilles, the ACL, all that, especially he's an older player now too, it's not a fair comparison. But Buddy introduces something that even Klay was more of right? You had to create for Klay. He had to run off the ball. He's more of a catch and shoot. Buddy, he can get it. He can get it off the dribble. And that's another dynamic at the guard position that Warriors really didn't have. Don't say Chris Paul because he's far out his prime. Or let's put this: Steve Kerr could have utilized Chris Paul better. I think he could have given him more minutes. Could have put the ball in his hands more. But Kerr was kind of treating him like, you're older. We want to limit your minutes. Come off the bench. We're not going to play you too much. Meanwhile, he goes over to San Antonio Spurs and Greg Popovich, who you would think would share that same mentality and double down on it even more. It's like, CP3, you got a lot left in the tank. Take all these 30-minute games, set up Wemby, be the point guard. You still got plenty left in your tank. And Chris Paul is actually playing well for the Spurs. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Appreciate y'all for stepping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. Catch you on the next one. Shout out to Dub Nation. We out, baby.